How is mullet life treating you?
It's been good. I trimmed it a little bit. It was getting a little, I don't know. I just felt like it needed something to make it grow a little bit. It was starting to wilt. So
You had to give it a little trim, get
yeah,
a little more full.
now it's feeling fresh, a little more life to it, so I can start the flow again. But
How do the ladies like the mullet?
you know, people love the mullet. Everybody loves the mullet.
It's
So
because they probably don't know what they're gonna get from you. They're like, what's this guy gonna bring to the table? Is he gonna be like a little bit of a scumbag? Is he a little dangerous? What do I get from him?
the funny thing is that mullets run in my family. And so
You're
I've
a
joked
generational mullet.
I'm telling you, like if I had family here to back it up, they would all tell you that. I mean, I have a family photo if we have time for you to look that up.
I have all the time for you to look that up. I would love nothing
because
more
it
than
shouldn't
to see
be
mullets.
it shouldn't be too far down the old Facebook profile. But
When you so while you're looking that up, I'll just continue to ask you questions about the mullet. When you went to the hairdressers and were like, I'm ready to commit to a mullet, did they try to talk you out of it? Did they lean into it? What
no,
happened?
so I've been going to the same barber for a couple of years down here. He's one of the maestros
Oh,
barbers.
okay.
But his actual shop is like 10 minutes from my house. So I've been going to him forever. And it started out as just a burst fade to grow out some in the back, just a little bit. Mostly because I have that scar back there. I get tired of people asking me about. And so I was like,
you don't want me to ask you about it?
no, I don't like strangers asking me about it. Like
Okay.
there were people I'll keep going off subject repeatedly, but we were at a gas station one time after an NXT show in Fort Pierce, and it's probably 2016 or so, and this guy behind me in line just starts touching the back of my head.
Shut up.
Oh no, it happens constantly.
Finger to scar.
Yes. And so like Dax, this is the first time he's seen it happen. And he's like, hey, don't touch him before I could even say anything. So I'm just like, I'm annoyed by it, but I'm used to it at this point because it's from a burn that I got. It's like two separate scars. One is a burn from an old wood stove that we had. I got too close to it in the morning and it just branded me.
Okay, because I don't know any of these stories. Like when you're saying the scar on the back of my head, I'm like, I'm unfamiliar with the scar. What are you
There's
talking
like this
about?
it's a very like pronounced like circular scar in the back of my head.
Okay.
And there's like I said, two different ones. One's the brand, one's like a solid burn, like a circle.
How old were you when that happened?
Second grade.
Oh
Second grade.
God, that must have been brutal.
It was like it didn't even hurt that bad. It just
because it was so bad that it didn't hurt.
Yeah, it just branded me. It was like the sear. I was like, what? And then I thought my brother was messing with me when he started freaking out because I was the youngest brother, and I was just sure he was making me like freak out. And then my mom seen it and freaked out. And then I freaked out because if mom was freaking out, then it was real, you know?
Yeah.
So the other one is actually like, it's just a line that comes out of the scar, but it's from, I got hit by like a wooden bat when I was a kid in a fight. Like it was a neighborhood fight. And I was beating up one kid and his brother hit me in the back of the head. So
did you have it coming or this was like?
No, it was 2-on-1. It was like, they were our best friends growing up, but we lived right across from them. We'd always get in like childhood scuffles. They were making fun of us, my brother, because he got in trouble. And I was like, shut up. And they kept doing it. So like, if you do it again, we're going to fight. And then the fight happened and his brother was getting beat up. So he was like, got to protect his brother. Wild childhood.
Crazy. Kids are nuts. I remember something similar to that happened to my brother. We lived like our house backed into the woods. And I remember my brother came like hauling ass. We must have been like, God, he's probably like, I don't know, 12 or under. And my stepbrother at the time smoked him in the back of the head with like a stick of a shovel or like something like that. But this kid was like nuts. Like this stepbrother, which is like super questionable. Like smoked my brother in the head. And my brother's like not a fighter. He's like pretty tame. Like he is definitely like a shit disturber, but not a fighter. So I don't really know what happened there, but yeah, I remember he came home, and that was when I like first learned about like what concussions were. My mom's
Yeah.
like, don't let him fall asleep. We've got to keep him awake. He got hit in the head. And anyways, yeah, it's like really scary when that stuff happens, especially when you're a kid.
These kids were like we lived next to him for a couple of years, and like I was the youngest, and then his brother there was one my age, and then there was an older brother that was my older brother's age. So like we would always hang out and play, and eventually like boys will be boys, as they say, and like we'd get like after a couple of weeks of getting along, there'd be a fight. And so my brother was banned from the yard, and that's why they were making fun of him. Like I could still come over and play, but he couldn't. We didn't know this at the time, but he was hiding in the woods this whole time. So like he saw like them picking on me, like making fun of him, and like I told him it was gonna we were gonna fight, and then the fight happened. And I'm fighting the younger brother, the one that's my age. The older one hits me, and then I'm just kind of dazed and like bloody, and I see my brother come out of the woods and just start like going to town on this dude. And I was like, Ray, where were you at? Like I said, I didn't know he was hiding in the woods this whole time. So it was just, I mean, it was wild. And then now I just have like this crazy scar in the back of my head. So back to the mullet. Stitches? We should have. Okay. We probably should have. But
yeah, at that time.
My parents didn't take us to the hospital unless there was like for certain, like, okay, we can't fix that ourselves. But I remember like being held over the sink, and they're watching the back of my head to see how bad it is. And they're like, I don't think he'll need stitches. And my mom was like, he's gonna need stitches. And dad was like, no, he'll be fine. Just throw some dirt on it, So,
back in the good old days when we could get away with shit like that, right?
So anyway, that's why I decided to grow the hair out a little bit in the back. And then it just kept becoming like I should grow a mullet now. Yeah. And I would joke about it, and I would let it get a little bit longer, and I'd be like, nope, trim it. And then finally I was just like, let's do it. I have nothing to lose. I don't care.
I like the mullet lifestyle. I think it's great.
The only thing I regret now is that it's becoming popular again. I wish I had done it a year or two ago when I joked about it, but I never had the guts to do it, because I really have joked about it pretty much my entire life. If you see any of my family members, if I ever find this picture, you'll see that it's just
now I need to see the picture, and you need to, if you don't find it during this, you have to send it to me so that we can put it up so that we can have it.
I just don't want it to take too long, but I know I can find it fairly easily from where I was tagged.
While we're talking about pictures of hair, this morning I was texted another picture of your hair from a mutual friend that we have, as you were joining the Straight Edge Society.
Oh, so Mr. Phil, I guess, sent you these pictures.
He did. Yeah, because he texted me. He's like, oh, I'm listening to the Dax episode. I was like, oh, I've got Cash on today. And he's like, did you know he was a member of the Straight Edge Society? I was like, excuse me, what? And he sent me those photos.
It happened on a random live event. It wasn't even televised. It was somewhere in South Carolina.
I could tell from the picture. I'm like, wait, he was in the crowd?
Yeah, I want to say it was like Florence, South Carolina. And they, like the day before, they reached out to me. I want to say it was Kristen Altman, or it could have been whoever did it before her. May have been the one doing it. It's been Kristen, I'm not sure. Yeah, this has been a different lifetime ago. So
yeah.
But they reached out like, hey, how long is your hair? And I was like, not that long, honestly. I just had it cut recently. Like, okay, well, would you be willing to have it shaved? And I was like, yeah, when? Like tomorrow in Florence, South Carolina. And I was like, yeah, sure. So like they want me to just dress up like I'm like I'm in the crowd. They put me front row. He comes out, and him and Gallows do their thing, and I jump up and down, try to get noticed, and they come over, bring me into the ring and shave my head. Like, and Punk, like, obviously, like, and I don't blame him, because didn't remember it at all, because I was a totally different person at that point. Like I wasn't known in wrestling at all, and I never really talk about it because I did so many damn extra spots that at some point I've probably been in an extra with somebody super famous that they don't remember. But Gallows remembered when I met him, and he was like, I know you from somewhere. Did we shave your head? And this was like years later. I was like, yeah, great memory, dude.
I'm surprised he remembers that. I feel like his life is a blur.
Great recall on him.
Yeah.
But when Deebs posted her picture the other day getting shaved, I was like, oh man, I should tell Punk about this, because I don't think he remembers, and I've never brought it up to him. And finally I just sent him the pictures, and can we cuss on this? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He said, no way. He's like, why have you never told me about this? And I was like, yeah, when the time was right, you know? So yeah,
Oh
I'm a
my
member of the
gosh.
Straight Edge Society. I was a paramedic for Mark Henry when he pulled the trucks. I was a cameraman when Mark Henry hit me with a chair. I mean, I was a bag boy for Cody.
No way.
Yeah, for Cody and Randy. I was the bag boy for their, it was like a last man standing match on SmackDown, and it was a fantastic match.
Yeah.
So like for me, like I love watching both those guys anyway. So getting to watch that match live, like next to them, and kind of hear how they were putting it together before I had any sort of TV experience, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is awesome. So that was like a really cool learning experience. But like I said, I did a ton of extra spots. So
How was that? Because Dax and I were talking about that, about how much yours and his paths would cross as you guys were both booked as extras a ton. Um, did you like did you hit a point where you were like, I guess I'm just gonna be an extra? When am I gonna get my big break? Like, what's gonna happen here? Or do you feel
no.
like you were getting so close?
So there was a point where it was frustrating, but I'd also had to talk with Regal in like, I want to say 2011. And he had told me, he was like, I'll help you get as much experience as you can. He's like, I'll put in words for you. Like, and he got me to England. He helped get me to Japan. He helped get me to Mexico. Like, and he helped me get to all these different places. And like, he would just kind of put out the word and put me in touch with somebody, and then I could do the rest of it. But like the fact that he would do that, and he was like, whenever you think you're ready for a tryout, let us know. And he's like, otherwise, like anytime we're around and you need the money or you want just to be like get here for the experience and be seen.
Yeah.
He's like, you got a free pass basically. And so like they would, anytime they were in the area or they needed somebody, I would drive to DC on a last minute notice, like just
Yeah.
because I wanted the experience and I wanted to get back there and kind of become involved. But I
It's
still
such
wanted
a different thing learning about the TV aspect of things, because when you
yeah.
don't know that and you're like flung into it and trying to figure out where's hard camera, how do I know what the times are, learning from taking the time cues from the ref and all that. Like, if you don't know, how
Yes,
else are
and
you going to get
like
that experience?
I also wanted him like to. I'd always wanted to be like Eddie and Dean and Regal and Fit and these guys that had been to all these different countries and they'd spent time there and they'd learned that style.
Mhm.
And then, went to WCW or WWF or whatever they chose at that time. Like I always wanted to learn all those things before I went. Like I wanted to be as good of a wrestler and know as much as I could and see as much on my own without having my handheld, I guess.
Where was the first place that you went internationally?
England. That was the first one Dixon helped me, or England, Regal helped me get to England for Brian Dixon.
Okay.
And it was the All-Star Tour. And I went over there for 3 months. And that was my first international tour at all.
How old were you?
That was in 2013. So I don't even know how old I was in
You
2000.
were like a baby.
I
Yeah.
was 9 years ago, I guess now. Has that been 9 years? 2022 now.
Who can do the math these days? I
I'm
can't,
close.
but that
I gotta be
sounds about
close.
right.
So I'm 34 now. So take off 9 years from that.
Yeah.
So I was
Somebody
around 20.
subtract the math for us and carry the numbers over.
I know when I got there, I was somewhere around 25-ish or something like that. I did 3 months there. And like I said, I'd never flown internationally before. iPhones weren't a thing at that point, really. Like it's like, I didn't know how to I flew to Manchester, had to get myself all the way to Liverpool by train and stuff. And I'd never done that.
Mhm.
Like I was from North Carolina. Like we don't even have like a real train system or like anything like that. It's bus or you just drive everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like I had to find all that out. And I've touched on it before in like interviews, but I never went to wrestling school. It's like I never paid for training. So like this was kind of how I got my training. It was going to these places and learning these styles and like figuring it all out on the fly, basically. Because I started wrestling, I think my first match was at 17.
Yeah.
And I had done backyard wrestling and I'd done stuff like that and kind of taught myself, but I never went to a training school.
Didn't you tell me, I think we had this conversation ages ago when we were talking about how you were doing the backyard wrestling and you were like making your own rings. Didn't was it your dad that helped you get that stuff together?
So my dad had this it was this shop on the side of the road. He just kind of sold a bunch of random stuff. And so he had doors and windows and like stuff from he would help tear down houses and haul off the parts that were still good and stuff like that. He did everything, a little bit of everything. My dad was he could have had a movie about his life and nobody would ever believe it because he was just that type of guy, just always up to something. But like he would sell these things and like So whatever like, would sit there for a while, or I could just find. He had so much stuff piled up. I would just start plundering him, like taking all this stuff. And like behind his shop, I built this little wrestling ring that he had no idea about for a while until I cut my hand, my finger. I was trying to saw something, and I slipped, cut my finger, and came like running over to him. And he's like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I was working on the wrestling ring." And he's like, "What wrestling ring?" But he ended up having to take me to get stitches. That's the first time I ever got stitches. And he tore it down to get all his stuff back because I had a bunch of his money tied up in my little shitty wrestling ring that I built.
So that actually reminds me of, did you read Matthew McConaughey's book?
I'm actually listening to the Audible version of it right now.
Oh, so he tells a story.
Because John actually recommended the audio version of it.
It is better because when he's reading it and telling the stories in his like really sweet, charismatic Matthew McConaughey way, it's a great.
Yeah, I'm about like
a
quarter of the way through it right now, and he's just, I can listen to him talk for hours just because he's so mellow and cool, and like he knows how to tell a great story. So
he's the best. But he tells a story in there about how when he was a kid and he was building a tree fort, and he would like steal kind of like piece by piece. He cut like a hole in a fence at like this junkyard and was taking out wood and building.
My dad was the junkyard, so
yeah. But it's cool because when you're a kid, that is the most magical experience you could ever have. It's your own little spot, and you're creating this thing that you're so passionate about. That is what childhood's about.
I built a second one like on my stepdad's property that we took a bunch of stuff from these old abandoned cars and just stuff that probably like these old mattresses that were probably filthy, but we had these tarps over them so we could get a good sound when we took our bumps. And we built a pretty solid ring there. And that one we got to keep for a while. But that was just like me and my best friend Jordan and my friend Sean. We just kind of built that. He had 50 acres. So like we were way out, and we would just get home from school. We'd drop our stuff off. We wouldn't worry about homework because who needs it?
Who needs to know how long ago 9 years was? We don't.
I don't care. I don't care how old I was in 2013 because I can't math that up right now. But I can still wrestle, and I can wrestle pretty well. So
what kind of training would you put yourself through? Because if you didn't go to the actual wrestling schools and you were so self-taught, what were you guys doing back there?
So we would play No Mercy. And we'd watch, like, we'd go to the video, like the move library, like on the Creator Wrestler. And we would just watch how they perform the moves. And then we would go to the ring and we'd practice them over and over until we got it like down to the right technique. I would read the book, or any book. I remember reading The Rock's book, and he was talking about a rib that Owen Hart pulled on him, where he wore a cast on his left arm the whole time. So The Rock worked the right, and everybody made fun of him for not knowing, the left arm thing.
Right.
And so that's all I learned about, like the left arm. You work the hammerlock's left arm. And I was like, oh, wow. And then I would like watch Beyond the Mat. I would watch these documentaries on like A&E. And so I saw John Cena as the prototype, just all kinds of random stuff. Anything I could get my hands on, which wasn't a lot because we didn't have a ton of money. Like anything I could like watch on free TV, or I could read, or a video game. And we were just crash test dummies for each other. We would just go, like, we didn't do backyard wrestling, like trying to go through, like we did a little bit of hardcore stuff, but we actually wanted to have wrestling matches. So we wanted to try to be as much like what we saw on TV as possible. So that's what we worked on. And it just got to the point where eventually we got to get in a real ring. Like this local promotion was like, if you guys help set up the ring, you can get in the ring for an hour before the doors open and just have at it. And we did. And I remember taking my first bump, and they were like, that was a good bump. Have you been practicing? And I was like, I sure have. On my homemade wrestling ring. But from that point forward, we would just, anytime they had a show, we would help put up the ring. We'd get in there and we would work for it as many hours as we could to get better, until they were like, hey, you guys want to have a match? We had our first match in front of probably 40 people in a warehouse that had no electricity, and they had to run an extension cord from another building to this one to get like some spotlights on us, like floodlights basically. And that was my first match ever.
Oh my gosh. So how did you develop the relationship with Regal? Was he sort of like the first real notable guy to take you under his wing?
So I think it was more from Adam and Edge. But I think Regal, he had taken a liking to me before, because I told this story maybe one time before, but like I was an extra, and it was before he really knew me. It was one of my first times being
before Adam knew you, or Regal?
I knew Adam a little bit, but we
Okay.
were just acquaintances at that point. I don't think he'd even seen me wrestle.
Mhm.
So the first day, Regal, he introed all of us and told us what to expect. And the next day, I want you guys ringside at this time, no matter what time. Like if the ring's up or not, be here, be ready to go. And I remembered that, and I was like, okay. The next morning, I was doing everything I could, eating and all that before I got to the building, so I could be ready to go, change, and get out there. And I got to the extra locker room, and I'm getting changed, and the other guy's like, "Oh, we're gonna go eat real quick." And I was like, "You have like 5 minutes. Like Regal's waiting out there probably now." No, it's the ring's not even up yet. And I was like, "He said it doesn't matter." And they didn't care. They went and they ate, and I went, and as soon as I walked out there, he was waiting, and he looked at his watch, and he was like, "Well, at least one of you listened." And honestly, we sat there and we talked for 30 minutes, 45 minutes before those other people showed up.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And during all that, like, that's kind of the conversation where Regal was like, look, he's like, I want to help you get as much experience as you can. So if that's what you want to do, I can talk to some people. And I was like, please, anywhere you can get me, just give me an email and I'll email them. Like, just whatever you think will work. And so but I remember they showed up and he just lit into them. Like,
yep.
And I was like, I kind of felt like the teacher's pet because I was standing beside him, like kind of not want to look at him, but I was like,
yeah.
I told him, like he said, no matter what, be here at 1 p.m. or whatever time it was, like be ready to go. If the ring's up or not, it doesn't matter. We can still learn.
It really blows my mind. I mean, it's good and it's bad because I feel like it's things like that weed out the people that really want to make it and the people that are a little bit on the fence about what they want to do. Because when you are so eager to if you had not eaten, if you had not slept, no matter what the circumstance was, if you didn't have shoes, I'm sure you would have found a way to make it there for the time that Regal said to be there.
Yes, I remember that morning being super stressed out because I went to work out. And I went to get breakfast and I slept in my car that night because I didn't have money for a hotel and it was too far away. Like it was cheaper not to drive home. So like I just slept in my car and then I went to the gym that morning to get a workout, a shower, get ready. And like, that was how I got prepared. It's like, I remember waking up in my car after a shitty night's sleep, sleeping in a Denny's park or a Waffle House parking lot, went in, ate breakfast at Waffle House, got my workout in, and then I went. Like I got dressed at the gym, like in my shitty suit that was way too big for me. And like I got to the building and I was ready to go, but I was also the last one at the building because they got there early to get food. So like, even though I was the last one there, I was the first one ready to go. It's like, I just remember that morning being so stressed out trying to get there in time. Like I got to get there like by 1:40 so I could be dressed and ringside before 2.
Yeah.
And like, they were just so nonchalant about it. And like, I can't remember who it was.
Me anxiety. I can't imagine people just being like, I'll just get there when I get there. And Sir William Regal he'll wait and I'll be there late.
The Duchess of Queensberry himself.
Yeah, like it's nuts. But at the same time, it is kind of that good thing that like it does weed the people that really want to be there. Weeds out the people that don't really want to be there, I guess.
I mean, it worked out well in my favor. I don't know if Regal and I would have had a one-on-one heart-to-heart for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, where that conversation came up to where he was like, hey, would you want to go do this? And when I said, yes, please, I still can't find this picture, so I'm giving up for right now.
All right. It's okay. You can send it to me later and we'll put it in the post. We'll get it in there. We'll get in the mullet picture because it is certainly
the Mullet family reunion, what it is.
Okay, so you go to England. That's your first trip overseas. What were your experiences like in Japan and Mexico? Who were some of the people that you were working with there? Like, what were all the little like nuggets that you picked up along the way from those different styles and whatever before you got to WWE?
There was
a loaded question, but
yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I didn't do those things, if I didn't go to Japan and get to learn from like Hakata and those guys, and because he was like the main like trainer there. If I didn't get to do that, and I didn't get to like learn from Otani and those types of guys, and like the other, like even the young boys that were there, like they would help like us foreigners kind of acclimate, and they would take us out to dinner at like a nice like Korean barbecue where most of us like we got paid to wrestle, but it wasn't great, and so like they would take us out to dinner and pay for our food, and they would teach us like maybe like be more this, be more like, but they would tell you, you know, more of the Japanese style.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay. And then like after a show going out, we went to Akibono's bar, and it was just everybody was drinking beer, and like the older guys were telling stories, but then they were also just telling like drunkenly dropping knowledge on us, like it was just nobody, like it was just another day in the life. And I was like, wow.
Do you think that wrestling is still like that? It feels like
I
it's
think
changing.
it is changing a lot, but like I still think guys go to New Japan and learn. I still think there's guys that go and they have a year or two in AAA or CMLL and they learn there. Like I still see it a little bit, but I don't think it's anywhere near like it was 10 years ago where guys were going all over and spending like, because like you still see like New Japan sends their like young lions out on excursion so they can get experience from different places. Like I don't see that enough anymore. I see a lot of people that have like they're still wet behind the ears coming straight out of training school, and they're getting a lot of opportunities on TV, and that's good for them. But I feel like it also puts them at a disadvantage.
Sure.
Because I feel like going into that type of pressure, like any wrestling match is stressful as hell. It's like doing it on live TV in front of like a huge audience weekly, and that's where you're learning and making those mistakes. That's terrifying. I had 10 years on the indies to embarrass myself, and I still embarrass myself plenty as it is, but at least I got the worst of it out of the way in front of a couple of dozen people a night, like at some shows. So yeah, I don't see it.
Even in the sense of like people kind of hanging out and shooting the shit, like guys having those drinks at the bar afterwards and being able to like shed some knowledge. Like I feel like that's even dwindling. And I mean, I've obviously been in and around this business a lot less than you have, but me seeing the way that that's changing, it's like I don't feel like people hang out anymore.
I see it more AEW, and like,
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the things that people enjoy so much about this company is like the backstage atmosphere is like, especially like the pandemic was hard on everybody. I mean, that's goes without saying, I feel like, but I think the bonds we formed in Jacksonville, because we would spend a couple of days in the same hotel, and we would do that like for a year and a half. And so everybody's just kind of bonding on like, in the Hyatt, we had a certain floor we'd go to. At the Marriott, everybody had a certain place they'd go to. So like, yeah, so everybody.
Oh my God, remember when I had Blue up there?
Yes, I do. I just saw the video the other day, actually, where I'm laying on the floor and he's slobber all over my face.
Finally.
So like, yeah, so like I think that was something that helped this company like grow through the pandemic, because once we did some great stuff during the pandemic in Daly's place, and like the fans that we could have were great. But as soon as we went back on the road, you could tell that the seeds that we planted in Daly's place were starting to grow and blossom, because no matter what, like wrestling is not going to be the same without the live crowd. The live crowd is the magic ingredient, the Big Mac secret sauce that makes wrestling so cool, because you can have a great match and you can know it's a great match, but if you can have a bad match, and if the fans enjoy it, that's all that matters to me. So like, I miss that. I miss the interaction. I miss telling them how much I hate them. So
I was just gonna say, it's like I always feel like you and Dax have such an interesting relationship with the fans, because obviously the fans love you, but I love the tweets about like your wrestling, the purity to it, especially tag team wrestling, of course. Did you ever consider having a singles run, or was that something you wanted to do, or is it always tag wrestling that you were drawn to?
Before like I got to like sit down and talk with Dax about us like really wanting to be a tag team. Like I didn't mind either way. Like I was in a tag team on the indies for a couple of years, but I did a lot of singles on the indies too. So like when I was in England and in Japan and all that, it was always singles stuff for me. It's like I enjoyed singles matches, but there is something about tag team wrestling and having the guy out there with you, especially when you get along with and like you have a good relationship with, where you guys can have more fun and you can be a little more relaxed in situations where you're like, man, this is high. I have somebody there to kind of bear the load with you and like
have those shared experiences together. It's like having a sibling. It's like you grow up and you have the same stories and you can like reflect on things together. There's something really special about that.
Yeah, and like tag wrestling, love it. Or singles wrestling, I mean, cool. I would do it. Like if we did something no one hard or something like that, that would be awesome to me. But other than that, I don't really have any desire to to go on a singles run now, especially. Like I just feel like what we built as a tag team is something that for me is too special to even like think about like why a singles runner at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
Have you always liked Dax? What was your first meeting with him? Did you guys always get along, or were there moments? I feel like you guys could be so similar that you could like hate each other.
So he's infamous for being grumpy Uncle Dax, right? Like but no, we've always gotten along from day one. Like, so it's funny for me to hear, like, to meet people that he knew when he was on the indies, like his KC and stuff like that are like, man, he was just so angry. Like, I was like, really? He was always cool with me. And I don't know if it's just because I can get along with most people if we have something in common.
Yeah.
But I think he's one of the most well-meaning people in the world. Like, and I think he's so passionate about stuff that it's misunderstood a lot because like people just think, God, he's not happy about this or that, but it's not that. It's just, he loves what he does, and he's a man of conviction. Like, and if he believes in something, he believes in it with his whole heart. And if he doesn't like you, he doesn't like you with his whole heart. So
I love that. But it's funny because I've had a lot of similar, like people say the same thing to me about John, where they're like, how did you guys get together? I don't understand, because John he's really hard to read. If people don't know him or he doesn't know you, he can come across as like, he doesn't care or he's not paying attention. He's like very like in his own head sometimes. People are like, he just doesn't talk to a lot of people. So people are like, how did you guys even get together? I'm like, I don't know. He's just always talked to me. It was never a tough nut to crack for me until we got like deep in the trenches of a relationship. And I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, like when you get to the stuff that you're guarded about, for sure. Like the traumas and all that, that's going to be a little bit tougher to break through. But yeah, like for me and him, it was never like, there was no animosity. There was no like kind of, are we going to get along or not? It was just, hey, what's up, Brett or Sean? And we said like, Brett. And so I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to regret it. But my first independent name was, I hailed from, believe it or not, Toronto, Canada.
Yay!
But even I didn't want to be Calgary because that was a complete ripoff. But I was Brett Storm.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I spelled
Lance
Brett with
know this?
I don't think Lance does. No, I don't think anybody else really knows this.
Brett Storm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
That's right.
It's money. I love that.
It's not,
Did
though.
you tell Brett this story?
Nope.
Oh.
I don't tell most of the guys that I know any of the embarrassing stories I have about them, just because, like the punk thing where I was like the straight, never brought it up. I just recently told Mark Henry about the being the cameraman for the chair shot because he didn't like. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me being weird and I don't think they find those things interesting, but I just.
Would you find that interesting though? If somebody like later was like, "Hey, we did this spot and blah blah blah."
Yeah, that's why eventually I bring it out, but it's not like I don't usually start conversations. Once I get to know the person and have like a relationship with them, I'm like, hey, I want to tell you about this. But I never start with that. I don't know if it's like a weird icebreaker thing to me, where I'm like, hey, I did this with you, and then they have to like rack their brain. I'd rather it just be.
Well, that's the awkward part when you know they're like, I don't actually remember this. And you're
like,
and
then they got to pretend they do remember. Oh, yeah, I kind of do remember that. No, you don't. Like, I don't ever want it to lead with that. So eventually when I get to a point where I'm comfortable with the person and I know like, all right, they don't remember, but they will find this interesting.
Yeah.
Then I'll tell, like with Punk, I knew he would find it really cool when I sent him that screenshot without me sending any other context. Because I never told him about it. I never even mentioned it. I just sent him the picture and he was like all caps, no way. And then I think he said when, and I was like 2011 maybe. It was a while ago.
Oh my gosh. Okay, switching gears entirely. How's your arm doing?
So it's all right. Like it's weird looking. So it's got that going for it.
What a crazy freak accident.
The weirdest thing I could ever even imagine. Just when it happened, I was like, that's not my arm. That hook is not in my arm. There's no way in hell. Like, I'm just crazy right now because I initially thought like it was pinched between some metal, like because I fell and I kind of landed awkwardly laying on it. So I thought my body weight between like the turnbuckle and like the ring post maybe was pinching it. I just remember thinking, and then like I was going, like I fall into the ring apron as I'm falling to the ring apron, it's just real hot in my arm.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And I was like, and then it kind of just yanks to a stop. And I was like, if you watch it back, you have to like turn the volume up and know what you're looking for, but you can hear me yell. And then like I raised the arm up, and that's when you could see the skin that was still like hooked to it. And then like I give it like a little tug, and that's when like the hook yanks out and the blood sprays everywhere. And that's when I just start saying really loud again. And that's when like Santana and Ortiz kind of noticed. And Dax, the poor guy, is still like completely like his back's to it all, so he has no idea. And I'm just like I remember like having it pinched like this because I didn't want it to like keep bleeding, but I was like, all right, I need to see how bad it is. And I tried to like release the pressure, and as soon as I did, it like squirted back out at me. So I just squeezed it, and that's when I walk away. Like if you see me on the apron, like I kneel down, I'm trying to gauge how bad it is. And when you see me walk away, that's when I tried to like,
it's bad.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's a gaping hole in my arm. I'm gonna go see Doc now.
What all could you see?
Just a lot. Just so I don't have when I have the wrist tape on, I like to give people like a little visual of it. But when I looked up, the skin was still hooked like this, so I could see up the skin of the arm.
Shut up.
I promise you, I could. That's why I was like, also, once the hook came out, it wasn't as bad, I guess. It was still gnarly looking. It was disgusting looking, but when it was hooked and I could see up the arm, I was like, oh, like I've just ripped out a whole chunk of it. I didn't know what it was. So yeah, it's like when I could see up the arm, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bleed out. This is it. See you guys.
Bye.
That's when I was like, you know what? Not on live TV. I'm gonna walk to the back and do this.
I'm gonna go die peacefully in the back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dude, these are real thoughts that went through my head though. I was like, and once I got kind of like to the doc and he was able to put some pressure on it, I was like, all right, I'm fine. But when I first tried to look and saw that, I was like, yep, maybe I'm going to bleed out. And I was like, or I should just go out, get off TV right now. So whatever's happening doesn't happen on TV. And then once we got to the back and doc and all the guys were able to like get it cleaned out, they're like, you know, you got really lucky. And I did. Like, I mean, all things considered, like the fact that it's here and not here.
Totally.
Like,
holy
honestly,
shit.
if it was 2 inches more this way, whatever, that would obviously have been probably a real different story.
That makes my stomach turn. Like, it's so crazy how closely you can come to like life and death.
Yeah, like Daddy-O, Liv. Yeah. I checked on her recently because I watched the clip from Elimination Chamber where her gear gets hung on it.
Yes.
And I was like, I hope that was just gear.
When Dewdrop pushed her off, you mean?
Yeah, and then like I told her, Dewdrop like unhooked her too, and I was like, great reaction, like especially because she was upside down, like Tree of Woe style. She can't get herself. Like, at least mine was my arm, and I could peel that thing off there myself, like upside down. Thank God it was just her gear. But like I would say now it's got most of the feeling back. It's just sometimes like the grip strength is still weird, so I don't do like heavy deadlifts. I wouldn't anyway because I got a crappy old man back. But like if I hit it just right or if something happens, I get like the warm tingly feeling, like there's like ants crawling on it, or like kind of like when your arm goes to sleep.
Yeah.
Or just like a lightning bolt down the tips of the finger. But that's pretty rare at this point now. Like it's just not gonna, I would say like another couple of months, a year or something like that. All the nerves not fire back up, but it's just gonna take a while. There's nothing you can do.
Diagnosis, just like a wound, like and like obviously some nerve damage.
Yeah, we did like the internal and external sutures and all that just to make sure that, but like there was nothing like major, no ligaments or anything, I guess, just a couple of some of the nerves and stuff like that. Oh my God. Yeah, I never really went and did official diagnosis. We cleaned it up in-house and got it taken care of.
That kind of harkens back to your very first story with your mom and your dad being like, he's fine, a little dirt in it. We got it back here. He's fine.
But yeah, like once they were able to clean up and see that there was nothing that was going to need like any sort of surgery, they're like, yeah, we can take care of that.
Did you go back to look at the hook to see what was left on it? I'm a sick bitch.
Yeah, there somebody sent a picture, and there's like, you can see like the red tip on the hook, and it's just, that's from the blood. Like I've gotten all kinds of like pretty crazy like different views of it. People have sent me or tagged me, and there had a bunch of friends like ringside for it. Like my mom was there because it was in Charlotte.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Did she freak?
Oh yeah, like they all were freaking out. Like my best friend Jay was there, or my childhood best friend Jay was there, and he hadn't been to a wrestling show probably 20 years, and he was like. Like his text from it were really funny. He's like, bro, I saw the hook in your arm. I saw the skin stuck on it. But yeah, it was, I just get the weird injuries. I get the jaw wires and the hooks in the arm. I can't just pull a ligament or something or sprain an ankle.
When your jaw was wired shut, that was from the GTS, right?
Yeah.
Not from Punk.
No, he knows better.
He knows better. From Kenta, obviously, he gave you the go to sleep. But when your jaw was wired, did they give you things to cut it in case you freak out?
Yeah.
Did you
like
freak out at all?
So when they told me that, I did, like, because they waited till I woke up, like from the surgery. So I'm super drowsy. I remember like waking up and I'm like, okay, I'm wired shut. I tried to start. I have terrible sinuses too. So like I'm like a bulldog. I can't breathe through my nose great. So I was like waking up, trying to breathe through my nose. And like, so
that's
I'm still
my
groggy.
I'm like, literally, I feel like I need to take a Xanax to have this conversation.
So I'm still groggy at this point too. And like, they're giving me like, here's some medicine for the next week or so. Here's this. Here's some wire cutters in case you vomit so you don't choke to death. And I was like, why would you tell me that right now? Like, just that's when I had like a bit of an anxiety attack for sure. Like I had to go to another room and lay down for a little bit and get drugged up because they told me that when I wake up, and I'm like, yeah, please don't tell me those things. I'm gonna have this wired shut for 2 months.
Holy shit.
That was that one was a terrible experience.
My heart is in my throat right now, imagining.
I wouldn't wish like the broken jaw, like the wire on anybody, because just go a full day without licking your lips.
Yes.
Go 1 day without sticking your tongue out of your mouth, and then imagine doing that for 8 weeks, just like this. Tongue never leaves your mouth. You can't lick your lips, no matter how dry they get. Yeah.
Holy shit. That's nuts. Yeah, like I didn't even think of that. I just thought of like the claustrophobia aspect of it, but yeah, not being able to, like, oh my gosh, for 2 months. That is a lifetime.
And then like the day they came off, like the jaw like is kind of locked jaw. It's like it takes like a week or so to get full range of motion back. It's like I could barely lick my lips, but I remember doing this. Oh yes. Oh, and then I went straight to BurgerFi, and I bought the smallest burger they had, and I pressed it down like a pancake, and I just nibbled it. It was the greatest. I mean, I literally could open it like this.
Oh
my! So I was just nibbling.
Gosh. So when what do you have? Do you just have to have smoothies and stuff all the time? That entire
Everything.
time? How much weight do you lose from that?
Once I figured out like things I could blend up that had more carbs in it, or like could nourish me a little bit more, like it wasn't bad. But the first 10 days I lost like 15 pounds.
Whoa.
It was quick. So if you're looking to lose weight fast, break your jaw.
Listen, that sounds, there's some good and some bad. I would come out looking Model-esque, but with a full riddled with anxiety.
You think I got this figure myself, right?
Oh my God.
But
wow.
Yeah, so like I would blend pizza. Like I found not a cookbook, but like a blend book of like, I Googled things I could blend, and there was a blog basically. Pizza? Yeah. Like, so there was a blog of this lady that had broken her jaw, and she like, these are things that I found that worked for me that I could blend up and they would taste okay without like making you vomit. So like even soups that I have to I would order like $100 worth of soups from O'Charlie's, and like I would keep it in the refrigerator, and you have to blend it up, put more water into it because it's too chunky. So you have to blend it all the way up. I had to go buy a magic bullet or whatever, one of those things that like blend it so fine that there's nothing left of it so it doesn't get caught in my wires. Because I always had like the Ace Ventura teeth with like, just, is there something in my teeth? Always. Oh, it was terrible. Like,
Oh my, you do get the freak accidents. That's
I know.
crazy.
Twice, like just in the GTS, it was the very last thing of the match anyway. Like I was coming in that Kinshasa to Dax, and that was it, you know. So it was, no matter what, it was gonna be the last thing that happened to me. And it just so happened to be the thing that put me in wires for 2 months. So
Jesus. Kenta better sent you some nice presents.
he did. He felt so bad about it. Like I had the video somewhere. I still might have it. But as soon as like it happens, like you can see I'm out on my feet, like I'm like Frankenstein, and then I fall to my ass. And like that's, as I'm falling, I'm kind of coming back to, and like I grab my mouth and I roll to the apron, and he comes around the other side and he grabs me, he hugs me and pulls me to the floor, and he's saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Like he felt so bad. But then like later in the video, you can see like he goes back in the ring to celebrate, and I pull myself up, I'm leaning on the apron, and I just go, and I start spitting out my back tooth.
Oh.
And you can see on the video, the ref picks it up and he goes, "That's your tooth." And I said, "I know, I'm very aware of it."
Oh my gosh.
But that one,
Wow.
so that happened, I want to say it was, we had a Thursday, Friday, Saturday loop maybe. And that happened Friday night in Spartanburg. So like the next night was going to be in Charlotte. And like I tried to like not tell anybody. Like I was like, I'm fine. Like we went back out later that night. We hit the what at that point was called the Shatter Machine on one of the Authors of Pain. And like when I hit, I remember being so like out of it again, because like I whiplashed and I was like, oh, like Dave has to help me back to my feet. And I was like, dude, I think I'm hurt. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I think I'll be fine. And we got on the bus to make the drive from Spartanburg to Charlotte. And we had food on the bus, and it was like grilled chicken and rice or whatever. And I take like the grilled chicken and I go to bite into it, and it feels like somebody just shot me in the face. And like it just like, I'm like, oh. And I walk up to Dave and I'm like, hey, do you want the rest of my food? He goes, you're not hungry? Or he's like, you're not going to eat? And I said, I can't eat.
Oh
And I said, hey,
God.
I asked like the coach, said, hey, do you mind if we stop at the store? I need to get some stuff. So we stopped at a gas station. I spent like $80 on like the naked smoothies and muscle milks and stuff I could drink to get some calories. And like the next morning I woke up in Charlotte, like it lockjawed in. It's like I couldn't open my mouth. And I was like, uh-oh. And like, so I started really panicking at this point. I was already pretty sure it was broken, but I really thought I could finagle my way through it somehow. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. But like, I saw the trainer in the lobby, and he was like, I tried to work out. I went to the gym and tried to work out, like everything just like excruciating pain in my head. And I was like, all right, next thing, let's go try to get some food. So I found like a Panera bread or something to get some soup. And like, even like the soup, trying to chew it, like the broccoli soup or whatever. I was like, man, nothing. So like I saw the trainer in the lobby. He's like, how's the jaw feel? And I was like, oh, you know, it feels okay. And he's like, open up for me. And I was like, and he was like, yeah, we're going to the emergency room. So like we went straight to the emergency room, got the x-rays, and yep, it's very broken. So
crap.
Yeah, lucky me, right? But yeah. I mean, knock on wood, like I've been lucky otherwise. Like I haven't really had anything that's put me on the shelf for 8 months, 9 months, a year. So luckily I can keep that up.
Well, you mentioned your mom being ringside for the arm situation. What's your mom like? What's like your family like? I want to get into the deep throes of the family. Tell me about Mama.
So my mom's the sweetest, like especially now, like in her older years. Like she's always been pretty laid back for us. But like my family life, it's so all over the place. I don't know if I could even paint the picture of it. So my dad had me when he was 45. So he was already very like up there at that point. Mm-hmm. My mom was 33. My dad had 13 children.
Whoa.
4 of them were adopted.
Spread that seed.
So 4 of them were adopted.
Okay.
The rest of us, like I had 2 that were like same mom, same dad. The rest were half. But there were 13 of us, and I was the youngest of all of them, of course. I got beat up the most. I got all the hand-me-downs. someone sent me a picture the other day of me wearing the biggest sweater I've ever seen in my life. Like it engulfed me because I'm also way shorter than my brothers for whatever reason. Like my two full brothers, they're like 6'1" and 6'2", and then I'm hanging out down here. So they don't even use their height, whatever. But
No
for
resentment.
yeah, for the most part, like by the time I was 13, they had all moved out. Like either my parents split up pretty young for me. So like my middle brother Ray went to live with my dad. Michael was at that point old enough to go live on his own. So it was just kind of me. I won't
So
get
it was you and your mom. Your one brother went to your dad's, and your other brother had already moved out.
yes.
Oh wow, that must have been
So
hard separating from your siblings.
yeah, but I was always kind of different from my family. Like
Mm.
I was the youngest. So I don't know if it's just because I kind of got to watch everybody else make their mistakes that I was like, all right, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Shouldn't do that. But like I was just always a little bit like they would tell me I was adopted, and I'd be like, I hope so, like kind of joking around with it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the Larry David thing where he gets super excited thinking he's adopted.
yeah,
As a
yeah.
kid, I thought that maybe there was a chance, but um yeah. So I won't go too deep into it because it could take days, but like we didn't have any money, and my dad was an alcoholic for like the early years of my life. He got clean for the most part, like
Mhm.
later, but like
Yeah.
him and my mom split up, and she got with he's not my stepdad anymore, thank God, but he was just a gigantic alcoholic piece of shit, you know,
God.
like scum of the earth type shit.
Yeah. It's really, it can be rough. I mean, I don't have 13 siblings or anything, but it was me and my brother, but I have like so many. This used to be my stepbrother and stepsister, and they used to be my stepbrother and stepsister because my mom had remarried after my dad and then also had a relationship after that with somebody. They were together for a long time. They weren't married, but my dad had remarried as well. She had 3 kids. So like I get it. It's like people are kind of all over the place. And those well, I mean, at least in my situation, those other marriages were definitely not great. And
Yeah.
that shit is like, it's weird, man. It's really weird when you're a kid trying to like figure out who these people are.
Yeah. So like, because my parents weren't perfect by any means, but like
Mhm.
I enjoyed my childhood for the most part. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't change any of it. Like we were poor. Like I don't remember a lot of it because we were young, but by the time I was 5, we moved like 9 times because we just couldn't afford places, and we just kept bouncing around. And like there was the point like where my dad had custody of us, and we lived with my dad from like a year or two, but he didn't have a real house. It's like we didn't know like, but he had like this garage that he was a mechanic at the time, so he had a garage, and we would just sleep at the garage, and like we would
Wow.
just sleep in cars that he had like he was working on, and
Yeah.
like we would fight over who could sleep on the roller thing that rolled under the car. It's like
The
dibs,
dolly.
yeah, but like we were basically like wildlife,
Yeah.
but it was great. Like we didn't really have we could go. I remember being like 6 years old out on my own riding around the town on my bike, and nobody like neither of my parents knew, and no, like I would go back home and nobody even noticed, so that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
not like they were absentee, but like they were just they trusted us for the most part.
Yeah. It was
But
a
we yeah
different time too. It definitely was a
it
different
was
time where like you could get away with stuff like that a little more. I feel like this day and age, there's no way that would fly. But depending on like what the town is that you're growing up in, what that situation is like,
yeah, and like
it
our
was a
population,
different time then.
the population of my town was less than 800. It's like it
Yeah.
was a small town. Like everybody knew everybody. It was a very poor town. So like we would just go out and we would find what we my brothers would put me down in the wishing well so I could take all the people's money,
Oh my
and
god.
we could go.
That's
We,
like
they,
the Goonies.
yeah, they would lower me down in there. Like it's still there in the middle of the town. Like, but they would lower me down in there, and I would pocket some change, lift me back out while they kept watch. And we'd walk over to. We had our food stamps too. Like, so we'd take our
Uh-huh.
little food stamps over and buy candy.
Oh my
Like,
gosh. How did moving affect you? We have moved a lot as kids too. We just moved a ton. And but I think your perspective on it, like at least mine as a kid, was it always kind of felt like an adventure. Like
I was
it
gonna say, it was kind of
felt
fun. It
yeah,
was
like
cool. Like,
yeah, that's what I thought too. It wasn't this feeling like I feel like it's almost similar. We had kind of similar experiences that like as much as there can be like weird things going on, my parents did a really good job of it not feeling like anything weird was ever happening. And it was all still like, okay. My mom was a great mom. She did such a good, and I mean, same for my dad too, but I spent more time with my mom at the time. We moved a ton, but I always really enjoyed it. And even now as an adult, the idea of like moving, I'm like, okay, I'll move
Yeah.
wherever and do whatever. And it's fine. Like you just figure it out, makes
Same,
you
like
adaptable.
it didn't really bother me that much. Like the only thing that I hated, like, and it didn't bother me by that point because I only went to one elementary school, regardless of how many times we moved, like was
Yeah.
losing friends. Like
Yeah.
you make some friends and you get along with them, but I feel like you can be friends with anybody at 5 years old and like you just walk up to them, hey, we're friends now, right? Yep.
True.
That's it. So
True.
like,
I remember one year we didn't go to the same elementary school because we always went to our school, but I actually never during the time I was in elementary school, which we didn't have middle school. I went all the way to 8th grade in this one elementary school. We never lived in the area that was supposed to be for that school. So my mom would drive us. We would take the bus, like the public transport bus.
yeah.
But if there was one year that we didn't, and it was so weird. It wasn't weird, but it was like, yeah, it was for the 2nd grade for me. So it was like, it was meeting new people. It was like reintroducing yourself to people in like a different county. But then the following year, my mom went to take us to school, back to that school. And we're in the car and she turns around. She's like, do you guys want to go back to Lakeside, which was our original school? We're like, yes, oh my God. So she just like dropped us back off at that school. But I always used to have to lie and say that I lived at my best friend's house.
Yeah. Yes. That was similar for us.
Mm-hmm.
But like by the time I got old enough to go to elementary school, for me, like my brothers dealt with it more. Like we still moved a couple of times, but we were still in the same town. We would just go from different landlord to different landlord until eventually I said my mom left my dad, who was like an irresponsible alcoholic, for my stepdad, who became an abusive alcoholic.
Yeah.
And so, but I think she felt trapped because he gave her more financial freedom and stuff like that, and she had worked very hard her whole life to take care of us and like to provide for us. Because for the most part, she raised the 3 of us, like me, Michael, and Ray, and she helped raise my stepbrothers, or half, also, even though they weren't her kids. So like I think by the time I was, 12 or 13 at that point or whatever. By that point, I was the last one left in the house, and she met a guy who at the time was a nice guy, and he had all this land, and like she didn't have to, like they lived together, so she didn't have to pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
So like it worked out well for her at first, and then like I said, he became an abusive alcoholic to the point where, I couldn't live at home anymore. Like I put a stop to it, but I couldn't live at home anymore. It's like I moved out at 15.
Oh, wow. What did you do? Where'd you go?
Just bounced around. Like my friend Jordan and his mom, for the most part, like took me in and like gave me a place to stay. But like they weren't, the richest either. So like they were living in a hotel at the time. It was a one room hotel. So like she had the bedroom, Jordan had the couch, and I would like alternate between like the floor. Sometimes I'd sleep in the tub. Like
oh my gosh.
So.
Childhoods are crazy, man. Like, but it's so like everyone goes through so much shit that you would have no idea. But like here you are, this like functioning adult man that's like, you're fine.
But I got to hang out with my best friend. I lived with my best friend. We watched wrestling all the time. Like I didn't have to put up like with my stepdad's bullshit anymore. Like eventually, like so I'm kind of a functioning adult now. But at the time, I was kind of like an angry kid. So like I dropped out of school probably 11th. It was 11th grade. Like could have graduated if I had just stuck with it because I did well in school. But I got in too much trouble. And there was like one really bad instance where my mom was like, I'm not letting you go back to school. She's like, I literally won't sign for you to go back because I'm not. What
happened? Do you want to talk about it or no?
I mean, I won't go into great detail, but there was just a kid that was kind of bullying me, like, and he apologized years later, like, and I could have handled the situation way better too, but like he said something that made fun of me, and then like, he made a comment about my girlfriend at the time, and I told him, I was like, hey, I'm warning you now, you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. And he said one more thing, and I took my backpack straps off and I stood up, and the teacher kind of got in between us, and I just kind of stiff armed her out of the way, and cold cocked him. And pretty bad. Like, yeah, he broke his orbital and stuff, and
Oh shit.
they were going to press charges, but he was going to press charges, or his parents were, the school was, and the teacher was, but the teacher kind of instigated it, and the kid that I punched, more power to him. He said that we provoked him,
Mhm.
like the Miss. I shouldn't say her name.
You can take it out.
Yeah. He said, yeah, the teacher was kind of egging it on. I said some stuff. He told me, and I don't want to press charges. So when he didn't press charges and he told the principal what happened, the principal was like, okay, well, if the teacher, like, she got reprimanded,
Wow.
but it was a pretty big ordeal. And for a little while there, it looked like I was going to get triple sued, you know?
Oh shit.
So it was going to be the kid, the school, and the teacher separately.
Yeah.
So my mom was like, yeah, it's not happening, not going back. And so I ended up getting a job like at 17 and just kind of rented a room from some friends. And that was it. Like, you know, I got my GED. I did my 2 years at a community college, and I started working on my bachelor's, which I just kind of work on sporadically now because I'm not in a big hurry to get it done. I'll get it done whenever. But yeah.
How much was wrestling like a thing that you really relied on during all of that stuff to just sort of distract?
Without being cheesy, it was everything.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I mean, watching, looking at guys like, I mean, I know you're obviously a big Bret Hart fan, but like, what was the stuff that, sorry, I'm not trying to make you emotional. We actually joked about this before you came on. You're like, don't make me cry. It was not my intention. I feel like I'm getting emotional now. Ooh, it's, when you're a kid and you're going through that stuff and you have those distractions, you have the things to like, to keep you in line and like give you hope and like things to look forward to. It's when you think of wrestling and you doing the profession now, it's really crazy to think of the effects that you have on people that are watching. Look at us all emotional. What? Yeah, we can take a break. Give it a little breather. Splish splash. I was taking a bath and I noticed my man has beautiful balls. Our friends at Manscaped, the global leader in below the waist hygiene, are turning men's shower dreams into their favorite routine with all the new ultra premium collection. This all-in-one hygiene, skin, and hair bundle is designed to upgrade the everyday man's shower routine from head to toe. Trust me here, ladies. Hair, skin, balls, they deserve all of it. They deserve all of these things. So save big by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping. Just use the code Renee. That's RENEE. Like I said, we've got you covered head to toe. Here's the thing that I love. Does your guy have dry skin and does he have tattoos? Because Manscaped has him covered with the hydrating body spray. Do it in a spray. So much easier. Get the job done. Make those tats pop. Make them look good. So to get 20% off plus free shipping, use the code Renee at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code Renee at manscaped.com. Let's get the man in your life nice and clean with the new Manscaped shower routine. Sniff it up, ladies. There's nothing worse than that moment when you're like, I'm going to cry. And then you tell yourself you're not going to, and it makes it so much
Especially
worse.
when you know, like, if you try to speak, it's going to happen.
Oh my God.
If I can sit here in quiet for 10 minutes, I'll be all right. It'll go away. But if I try to speak, it's just going to.
No, I'm the exact same. Or I just start laughing like a psychopath.
Let's say if it's okay
like
with
my
you,
way to like divert.
I need to find this mullet picture to help.
Well, you can find the mullet picture because I really would love to see this. Generational.
It's probably not going to live up to it at this point, but I still want to see it just because there is quite a bit of mullet action in there. And it's just, this is just part of my brothers and sisters. It's like a
dude, I did not know you had that many siblings. Holy shit.
I don't talk about it a lot. I don't talk about most of my child. I've always been kind of private. That's, again, I think it goes back to why I don't bring up stuff with punk and stuff. I've always been keep everything close to your chest until it feels like it's the right time. And
For sure.
I think I'm
My
almost
nosy ass poking and prodding. I'm like, tell me about this. Like,
no,
what's
like
up?
it's good to talk about it, but I just
Yeah.
never like always knew like eventually I would, but I never was like, all right, I knew someday it would all like I wanted to tell the story because I think
Yeah.
it'll help others, but obviously, you know,
Yeah.
big baby.
I love that though. It's like I don't know what you could if you were listening when you walked away, but like I think I love when people are so passionate about the thing that they love. It's crazy to me when people are just so passive about everything or people don't have that passion. That's not something that I can relate to. So when people have that passion about something and for that to be a thing when you're going through some like real life shit and that was your escape.
Yeah, like I want to delve on it a little bit more, but I don't know if I can because that part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Take your time.
All right, I think the stepdad stuff just I won't be able to do right now, but
Okay.
I don't know if that the focus is great on that bad boy or not, but I'll send it to you also.
Please send me that. Oh my
So
gosh, that's
but
amazing.
look at all those. My brother James right here has probably the best one.
His is the best one. His
He
is the
he
best.
took he took pretty great care of it, and he was
That's
very proud
awesome.
of it. But he claims that it wasn't a mullet. He's like it was just long hair, and I'm like James, it's long in the back for sure. But I don't know if you see
100%.
these here feathered bangs.
As a fan of the feathered bang, tell me about it.
I mean, yeah. So that's just one of the That's the biggest group picture I can find of everybody with their flow. But
Oh
there's
my
more.
gosh.
There's my cousin Bubba.
Sweet Bubba.
His real name's not Bubba, shockingly, but he's had like a mullet his entire life, and he's the guy that we always like. When he drove, he'd have the knuckle gloves, like the fingerless gloves when he drove his truck with like the bandana and the mullet. So like he was the epitome of
Hero.
everything I wanted to be.
Hero status. How long do you want to get the mullet to be?
I don't know. Like I don't know if I want like I kind of just I had a little bit cut off, like I said, but maybe just kind of like it is for now. Like I
It's
don't know.
nice.
It's somewhere in the middle. It's kind of
It's a
like
nice
Eddie's
cropped
was. Like
mullet. Yeah.
Eddie had an like 04 whatever. Eddie 03. Eddie had like his sophisticated mullet
Yeah.
where it wasn't like his
Business
Latino heat
mullet.
mullet, the greasy like longer one. Like it was much more short and styled. And I was like, maybe that's the mullet I want.
That's the look. I actually tried to convince John for a while when he was coming back to do his heel turn in WWE. I was like, dude, get like a Kiefer Sutherland mullet from shit,
The
what's the
Lost Boys.
vampire movie? From the Lost Boys.
Yeah,
Because he for some reason he loves a dangly earring. And I was like, listen, do a dangle earring and like a bleached mullet. You would look cool as
he could have pulled it off. He still
he did
could
not.
if he wanted
He
to.
could. He didn't heed my advice, so I'm glad that somebody is repping in the mullet world.
The
Okay.
worst part about mine is it grows so straight that it just kind of lays flat. Like I don't have any curl to it,
Mm.
which would help kind of make it.
Perm it. You should perm it.
I joked about it because Butcher. I don't know if I should disclose this information, but I'm going to. He gets a perm,
Good for
but it looks
him.
great when he does. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know, Butcher Maine might be onto something here.
I heard perms were coming back, so it's something to look into.
Well, I'm already
You could
helping
be
bring
on
the
the
mullet
cusp.
back, but the mullet perm, watch out.
Okay, I have a few more things that I want to get to with you. I know we're like running out of time and I'm taking up your entire day.
No, you're fine.
When Bret Hart was going to the WWE Hall of Fame and that douchebag came running down the aisle and attacked him, what was going through your head during that?
Watching it happen, I was like, this seems like something that would be a work, but there's no way that it is. Like,
Yeah.
and then like you see everybody start to scramble, and you like, yeah, this is not good. And you know, I never go into too much detail on this, just because I don't like. I don't want to worry about it. But
Yeah.
the dude was wild. Like, and he was like, I've said it before on Jericho's podcast, I think it was. If you watch the incident back, there was no security there. There were no police there. It was all just the boys, and he wasn't. His hands were free, and he kept threatening everybody. And so, like, you know, no,
Yeah.
don't wait to find out. That's my motto.
That was such a crazy moment. We were just talking about this not long ago because Graves and I were hosting Hall of Fame that year, and I remember we were like, the ring was in the middle. Obviously, the ring was in the middle of the arena, and I see the guy come like hauling ass down that like far aisle.
Yeah,
and it was like slow motion to me that I was like, oh my god, this guy's gonna make it into the ring. This is happening.
yep,
Like I could tell that it was not a work. I was like, this is just like a fan coming in, and like thank God the guy didn't have a weapon.
yeah. That's kind of what I mean by like his hands weren't restrained. And it's like, if you watch it, like we have him by the jacket and everything, but nobody has his hands, and he's still not cooperating, and he's still saying some wild shit. So, like I said, my motto is don't wait to find out. You know, like I'm not going to just stand around and see what happens. I'm going to try to make sure that we get this the easiest way. So, yeah, like say whatever, but that guy was a douchebag, like you said, and should have never even been in that position. But I would always do the same thing if it came down to it again.
That was so sad to like see. I mean, this like beautiful moment for Brett
Especially,
with
like,
Natty in the ring.
yeah,
like,
dedicating it to Jim, like
yeah,
being inducted to the Hall of Fame, and you know, obviously he's not there to accept it, so Natty's there with her uncle to accept it, and then that guy does that, like, and again, obviously unhinged and saying some crazy things. So like everybody in hindsight got lucky, and thankfully Brett didn't get hurt. He didn't have a weapon. Natty didn't get hurt. Everybody was okay, but it could have been so much worse. And that's scary. There was one security guard that was in the ring, but during the melee, I think he got like a rib crushed. Like,
shit, really?
Yeah.
I mean, all the boys jumped in at that point. I mean, you were in there like right away. Shane jumped in there right away. Like
Travis was in there right away.
Yeah. Oh, Travis got in there real quick.
Yeah,
Holy
he did.
shit.
Travis and Shane were both in there real quick.
Yeah.
They all got in there quick.
Yeah.
Spud and Heath, like everybody, like that was the cool thing for me. It was just we watch out for our own. Like it doesn't matter like where we come from, what we believe, or anything like that. It's just like we're all family, and you see like somebody like that, and everybody's instinct is just to get everybody to safety, and that's cool.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was, oh my god, I just can't believe that happened. Between
I can't either.
That and then like, you know, the thing that happened with Seth not all that long ago either. Like, it was wild.
I'm glad Seth was fine after that, because that guy had a clean shot at him too, like run like the water boy and just level. Like luckily Seth has instincts like a puma and was able to at least somewhat counter it and get out of there. But
and again, same thing. It's like, thank God it wasn't worse than it was.
Yes, thank God there's a weapon. Thank God there's no like hesitation. Like once he did get there, people were able. The refs were there quick. I think it was Eddie and Danilo. They were there in a heartbeat. It's like good on everybody. Like again, like they don't know if there's weapons or not, but they're there to take care of their own. Like, and that's the cool. You don't know.
Like that instinct kicks in because it's like, I mean, you all become like family members. So if your instinct is not to just fly and like jump in on that situation, like like what do you do?
Yeah, in this day and age, you don't know who has weapons, who doesn't. So like for everybody's first instinct to be fight instead of flight, that shows you kind of what the wrestling community is at its core. Like it's something where everybody can. It's like a brother sister. Like you can pick on your own, but nobody else is gonna pick on yours.
Totally.
So
I'll talk shit about my family, but you say something, you're out of here.
My brothers beat the shit out of me religiously. Like it was just a rite of passage. But anybody else said one thing, watch out. Like my brother's running out of the woods that he's banned from to beat up the brother that hit me. Like that's kind of
are the best. Hey, the other day you and I were talking and you were saying something about how you are the last Wheeler to pass along the family name. Is this a pressure that you're feeling?
Yeah, kind of now it is. Like 34. I'm the youngest of all my dad's kids. So I'm the last one with the Wheeler name
Mhm.
that hasn't had kids and hasn't said they're not having any more. So if there isn't like I have like my sisters, but they all have married, so they have last names, so their kids took
Yeah.
those names. So even like the females, like there's no more Wheelers on that side. Both my older brothers, like my brother James with the sweet fancy mullet, he never had kids, but he doesn't ever plan on it.
Yeah.
So like my brother Ray, my brother Michael, everybody else, they've had kids and they all failed at reproducing a boy. So it's
Oh,
down to me.
damn.
Whew.
Time to get to work.
And the thing is, like, I'm sure I want kids someday, but I'm not even totally convinced of it yet. I'm 34, so.
Well,
But
to be fair, I was not that person that was always like, I'm dying to have kids. I'm dying to be a mom. Like, I was not that woman. But I did start to get the itch, I would say like around like 33. I don't know if that was like my biological clock ticking, being like, bitch, you better get on it.
We're on a time crunch here.
I know, like, you better get busy. But now having a baby and being a mom, like, it really, I mean, as cheesy as it is, it's like that thing, you don't know it until you're like in it and you're like, holy shit, why didn't I do this like 10 years ago? This
And
is
I believe it
amazing.
because like I've been there with Dave through like his entire, like, Finley was just being born at this time and stuff like that. So like I've got to see her grow up and I get to see how much they love every bit of it, even the stressful
Yeah.
parts of it. Like it's like I believe that if I do have that, like I'm gonna love every minute of it and wonder why. But right now, I don't know if it's just something where, I mean, I'm sure I could go to a therapist and they could tell me tons of reasons why.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's because like I feel like I worry too much about wrestling that I would feel bad about wanting to accomplish what I want to accomplish still and being gone more. Like I
Sure.
think maybe for me, I would just feel like I'm missing out on a lot and I would want to do that later. But I also kind of joke that my dad was 45, so I have 11 years to work with. I'm good.
Sure. Yeah,
Golden
your
years.
biological clock is just fine.
Yeah, I'm just now hitting my prime. It's fine.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is true. I will say that sort of like the unfortunate double standard that happens is that, like, I feel like everyone kind of hits their prime and hits their stride in like their mid 30s. Where like for a chick, if you're like, all right, I'm doing it, everything is great, my career's awesome, blah blah blah, then you're like, oh my god, wait, now I have to have my family, I've got to do all these things, and it does definitely, like, it pumps the brakes on some things. Or you're like I feel it now where I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to juggle everything of like, I want to be the best mom. I want to be the best wife. I want to keep my career going the best way that I can. There's some days I'm just like, I want to take a nap so badly. I'm so tired. It's so much work.
I see a lot of the girls now like that I've worked with that have had babies and they're coming back. And I just can't imagine like the amount of work they have to put in to be a good mom, to be like successful at the top of the wrestling business too. Like,
yes. Yeah, I know.
I give you ladies a round of applause here because
especially the women that are like wrestling and like wrestling while breastfeeding and like all these things that like you don't even know until you're in it. And like once I went through that, I was like, how the did you do that? Women are superheroes.
I don't think I can do it at this point right now. I think I need a few more years to get there because right now I'm like, I gotta brush my teeth again in 12 hours.
I will say, as a mom, there's days I'm like, did I brush my teeth this morning? Where am I at?
Yeah, so I feel like crazy. The amount of things you have to juggle in order to do what you guys do, like, hats off to you because I can't do it. I'm still terrified of it. That's why the name probably dies with me.
No,
Sorry,
you'll do
Dad.
it. You'll do it.
Sorry.
You'll get to it. Okay, my final thing before I let you go. I would like to know what the status is of your friendship with Orville Peck. Are you guys still buddies? Is he still commenting on your photos? Where are we at? Because this is my dream team.
Still close, but I haven't talked to him as much lately because I feel like everybody especially like Orville's taking off nowadays. Like,
yeah, it's huge.
So I love to see like the success he's had from the time that I discovered him via your tweet to now. But like, yeah, we still keep in touch. Like, he'll respond to a story, I'll respond to one of his, we wanted to use one of his songs for Stadium Stampede, but we just couldn't get it cleared in time. So like we were gonna, like, the fight with Santana Ortiz, we were gonna have that playing in the background.
Oh man, I would have
So
been so happy.
we were working on that, and it just like he was all for it. It was like, we can do this, and it just didn't work. One other time before that, we wanted to use it to in the video package because Hangman's a big Orville fan also.
Mhm.
So he wanted to use it in our video package to build up for me and Dave versus him and Kenny.
What
So
song were you guys gonna use?
he wanted to use Small Town Boy
Mm,
for that one. I honestly I wanted to use Buffalo Run
okay.
for the fight scene in the Stadium Stampede bar scene.
Man, that would have been amazing. That
Oh
would have been
no, I'm
so
sorry.
cool.
I'm gonna decline this.
Who's calling?
I think my car is ready for pickup.
Oh, good. Good. See, what a good way to kill some time, right?
Great. Just cry in
Tell
front
me
of
about
everybody.
all of your emotions. I'm going to
Um,
exhaust you for the day.
I can say now that I could probably address it a little bit more. Like my stepdad, obviously, terrible part of my life. Hated him, abusive to my mom, like not just my mom, like me as well. So like that's something I never talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So like wrestling was the only escape. Like we would go, I'd get home, drop my stuff off, and leave the house, and that was because I didn't want to be around him. It's like
Yeah.
you go to the wrestling ring and you just wrestle, and then I would watch wrestling, and I'm like, I want to do that, and I would be like, all right, well, if I want to be a wrestler, I can't smoke cigarettes. If I want to be a wrestler, I can't go out and I got to take care of myself. Like, and I just like that kept me on the straight and narrow because there were times where a lot of my friends got on drugs, and like a lot of my childhood friends now passed away from overdoses and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like people that were my age, and like I can't fathom the fact that they're gone now because of that. And
Yeah.
I wonder, like, because they were guys that I started out like being, like I'd watch wrestling with those guys. Like that's kind of what helped me get into it. Because when I didn't have cable and I'd stay at their house, we would watch wrestling, and that's how I got my wrestling fix. So
Mhm.
like knowing they're gone now because they went down the wrong path. Like I wonder if wrestling didn't like keep me going forward because I was like, I want to be a wrestler. I can't smoke, can't go hang out and do that. Don't want to do that. Oh, I don't want to drink. I didn't drink for the first time. I didn't get drunk for the first time until I was like 23, I think.
Wow. Did
Like,
being around alcoholics give you like a strange relationship with alcohol?
yeah, it still does. Like
Mhm.
to this day, like I can drink fine if I want to, but then like all of a sudden it'll just start turning my stomach. I can have one beer and it'll be fine. I can take a sip of another one. I'm like, nope, I'm done. Like it just makes me like the smell of it makes me sick. Like
Mhm.
taking a sip of it makes me sick. And I think it's a mental thing for me
Yeah.
because like addiction ran in my family, it runs in my family. It's like I always worry, like I don't think I have an addictive personality, but I don't want to find out either, you know? So
For sure. Yeah, that can be like such a scary thing of like knowing like it's like wait, is that just like lying dormant and like waiting to like pop its, rear its ugly head at me one day. So it's like I mean it's obviously so great to be aware of that stuff. And I feel like it's like that healthy fear that keeps you on track rather than just going it, this is what my future is going to be, so I'm just going to lean into it, you
and that's
know.
kind of why I say I feel like I was always a little bit different because I was the youngest and I got to see those things, and I was like always kind of like more scared when I would see like somebody drunk and like acting stupid. I was like, why are they acting like this?
Mhm.
So like when I got older, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But also, like I said, like wrestling made me like want to strive for more. Whereas like on my dad's side, like my dad was an addict. I've had siblings that either are or were addicts. So like, that was something that I've always had to deal with. Like, even though I've never been struggling with it myself. So like,
Yeah.
for me, I was like, okay, don't want to do any of that. So that's why I said I feel like I was a lot different than my families because I watched them go down the wrong path and do the drugs that they shouldn't be doing and getting addicted and becoming like shells of themselves. And then I was like, you know what? I can't do that. If I want to be a wrestler, I can't even tempt fate and try it because if I am an addict, then I'm done for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess great to be able to have that. Not hindsight is 2020. You had like the foresight of like, this is not the path that I want to go down, and
Yeah.
just completely steer clear of it. So kudos to you being that youngest child that could learn from other people's
Thanks to
mistakes
wrestling
rather
though,
than,
honestly,
yeah,
like I say it all the time and it sounds cliche, but it did. I think it saved my life. I know it
yeah.
saved my life.
That's awesome. Very, very cool. Well, I'm glad that we got to finish that conversation because I feel like we needed to
I
get
did
that.
it.
We did it. We did
Only a
it.
little bit of.
Well, dude, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I have taken up like your whole day. I could keep
No,
talking to you all day, but this was a lot of fun getting to
no, thank you guys for having me on. That was a lot of fun. And
of course.
that's the first time I really delved into that aspect of it. any sort of like in-depth way. So hopefully that can help some other kid that wants to be a wrestler someday that doesn't have any money or doesn't really have the highest of hopes to look at every day. Like,
Yeah. And I think part of that too is like, when you're a kid and you think like, I don't have anything, I don't have fucking two pennies to rub together, that you think that there's no way you can pull something like that off. But if you're determined enough, I mean, literally the story you told about wanting to be there to meet William Regal, it's that shit. It's knowing how to be respectful and to be
you
prompt.
appreciate the things that you do have, like the chance to get, the opportunities that you earn. Like you know that if you don't capitalize on it or make the most of it or give it your all, that you're going to be right back there. Like, and I said, I love the town that I'm from. Population 800. Like it had one red light. It had Hardee's, and that was it. No, there was no chain of anything else. No gas, like no name brand anything. No malls. So that was it. I mean, there wasn't like if wrestling didn't pan out, I would have my choice of all these other careers. It was pretty destitute. So the town now, like, it's done well for itself and it's made a comeback because Asheville's gotten so popular. So it's kind of spread everything out to the surrounding towns. But at the time, no, like everything around here was just like it was a factory town, industry, like, and all those left. And when they left, that was the job. So to be able to go to Old Fort now and see that it's doing well, but also to know like, man, I made it out, and like now I can go back willingly, and not because I didn't have the other choice and I just accepted what was handed to me. Like I always said, I never wanted to be a product of my environment. I never wanted to use that as a crutch as to why I didn't succeed. I didn't want to use my sob story to be like, this is why I didn't make it. Everybody was against me, is everything around me. Like, no, like I knew that the odds were slim, but I also knew like they weren't impossible if I really wanted it. Like I just had to find a way, and thank God, like I did find a way. But it's, like for anybody else out there that wonders, it's not going to be easy. But man, I wouldn't change any of this for, like I said, my childhood. At times, like it could be like, why me? But I wouldn't change it, one bit of it.
I always feel like that's the stuff too. That's like, that's what makes human beings humans. To talk about like having some gumption and like something to kind of like hang your hat on. It's like people go through shit and you live and you learn through those mistakes, and nobody's getting through life fucking clean and easy and scot-free. And honestly, I wouldn't wish that on somebody. Like I feel like those scars and those bumps and those bruises, those are important.
I wouldn't understand, and I wouldn't appreciate the value of the things that like nowadays I think people can take for granted because they don't know. Like it's a different time, and it's not their fault that they come into a business at a different time or the world at a different time. Like that's just how it is. But for me, like I knew if I'm going to succeed, it's going to be all on my shoulders. And if I don't want it to be something where I'm like, the world was against me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, kudos to you for the success that you have and the opportunities that you've had laid in front of you, and you stick to your guns and follow your heart to do the stuff that you really want to do. It's really impressive.
That's why though, like wrestling is my escape, right? So that's why you do it. You don't do it for the money all the time. Like money is a necessary evil, but it's not the only thing that makes the world go around. And so
certainly, if
you have enough money to get by, who cares? Like, and if you're really good at what you do and you believe in yourself, then the money will come also. Like you don't have to just take the sure thing. You can bet on yourself. And I've learned from my past that just because I don't see the opportunities there doesn't mean I can't make one.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. Well, bud, it's been so fun having you on here.
Thank you guys for letting me vent all that out.
Oh my God.
This was the therapy set.
I know.
I know how much I owe you.
I'll send you the bill. You can Venmo me, PayPal, whatever you want to do.
Paula's my account, so she'll sign it and slobbering all that for you and get it in the mail.
Yeah, go smooch Paula for me. Eventually her and Blue will be in the same room. And I guess go get your car.